Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Alberta Canola Producers Commission, SAS Canola, and Manitoba Canola Growers.
Kelvin Hepner with Real Agriculture. We are in the canola breeding lab here at DL Seeds just outside of Winnipeg, joined by Zach Liban, pathologist with DL Seeds. And Zach, we've been, of course, seeing a high prevalence of disease in the canola crop in Western Canada this year thanks to high moisture, lots of Sclerotinia. For farmers selecting varieties for to grow next season, what kind of process do people like you go through in terms of figuring out how susceptible a variety is to Sclerotinia?
Right. So Sclerotinia is a notoriously difficult disease to screen and test for. In the past, we relied heavily on field trials, and of course you need the right environmental conditions to spur the disease on and see the infection we're seeing. This year is pretty harsh in the field, and a lot of fields have had that. But of course it's hit and miss, and so one of the ways that the WCC-RSE has looked at, along with industry collaborators in the past, is something called a stem inoculation procedure, where we artificially induce infection to make sure that each plant actually receives the infection, and then we can compare just the genetics of the line and see how the infection process proceeds based on the different germplasm and the differences between lines. So what we've done at DL Seeds is adapt this protocol. Essentially what we do is we culture the different sclerotia from these different samples that have been collected, and we grow them on potato dextrose agar and then transfer a plug from that onto the stalk of the plant. And this stem inoculation procedure allows us to measure how far the lesion length or the fungus spreads along the stem and into the plant as well. More resistant lines will show reduced infection. They will essentially be able to halt the procedure of the infection process, whereas something that's more susceptible, it will spread all along the base of along the stem and into the pith, actually inhibiting the potential of the plant and the process by which it absorbs nutrients and water. And this limits pod fill and growth and will effectively lead to reduced yield in a farmer's field.
So you rate them based on whether the stem is, I guess, all the way from black to barely showing
yes.
any
So
any
we have
spread?
Two different measurements we take. One is an actual measurement of the lesion length, so how much it spreads onto the plant. And the second part of it is the stem rigidity. So we measure whether the plant stays firm along the stem or whether that stem grows soft or even collapses completely. So that means that it collapses at the site of infection and it'll fall over, and then you won't be able to essentially harvest anything from that plant.
So we're starting to see some marketing claims surrounding Sclerotinia tolerance, or I don't think resistance is, we're not using that strong word yet, but
yes.
How much progress is being made in terms of that improvement when it comes to Sclerotinia?
So it is a steady progress. Sclerotinia resistance, we haven't made as much of a progress as we have in blackleg, which has been researched a lot longer, just because it's a lot difficult to manage Sclerotinia. Sclerotinia is dependent on multiple genes acting together in an additive effect. So it's mainly dominant additive genes or QTLs within the genome. And so you need a lot of these to transfer the resistance and give you that strong response that we would like to see. But of course, because there's just so much genetic variability within lines, it's harder to get a line that's completely shows really intense resistance. And what the WCC and companies like us have been working towards is creating and testing lines that are significantly better in terms of the Sclerotinia response we see compared to a susceptible check. And so the WCC protocol and the stem inoculation protocol we have adopted measures lines and sees whether a line is significantly improved in terms of Sclerotinia tolerance compared to a susceptible check. And we are seeing gains, about 25 to 30% improvement over a susceptible line. And as time goes by and new varieties come out to the market, that should improve overall. Yeah.
So it's not that you're up against some limit right now. There you see room to
We do see room to grow in a lot of the recent research publications that have come out, and a lot of the early generation material. There are material that do a lot better than what we have available on the market today. And over time, we expect to bring products that improve on that type of resistance as well, and improve the resistance that's brought to the marketplace overall.
are you seeing this translating into increased yields at the end of the year? That's, I think, where where it really matters to farmers. What happens in the lab, maybe not so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in general, the Canola Council gives an estimate of 1% Sclerotinia infection causes 0.5% yield, and in farm sites where they have a lot of significant infection, then you should really see a benefit to growing a variety that does have improved tolerance to Sclerotinia. And the long-term goal is, in years like this where there's a lot of Sclerotinia out there, if the marketplace happens to bring varieties that do have that improved tolerance, then yes, it should improve yield and reduce the infections overall in Western Canada.
All right. Thanks for your time, Zach.
Yeah, no problem.